So our lead this hour is rather obvious. It comes from Pro Bouncy Ball, the never-ending playoff journey, which will go on until June. It was put up or shut up time for the Nets, and they pulled the plug on the brink of elimination. The Celtics trying to put the final nail and then close the door on the coffin for Brooklyn's season in Game 4. And I think you know by now what happened, but if you didn't watch, possibly not. The NBA pulled out all the stops. They brought in the rogue official to try to help extend this for television ratings purposes. Mr. Foster was refereeing the game, and sure enough, Jason Tatum did foul out. It's an NBA league office mandate. Tatum fouled out. He had 29 points, though, prior to fouling out of the game, and the Celtics hold off the Nets 116-112, and they get the old broom out, so Boston getting it done. Jaylen Brown, 22 points. The Celtics off the radar at the start of the playoffs, but they're the first team to reach the second round of the postseason. The Celtics will now await the winner of the Bucks, Fear the Deer, and the Bulls, who have been trampled their last couple of games there. So the Bucks are up 3-1 in that series. But as far as the Celtics, with a 4-0 sweep, as it's turned out the lights, the party's over for Brooklyn. But the better story is in the losing locker room. The super-duper team formed a couple years back with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving forming Voltron, and many experts lamenting the fact that this was now going to be the Brooklyn Nets dynasty over the next couple of years. Well, how's that working out? Durant, in this game, he had 39 points. He took 31 shots to get 39 points, which I don't think is what the doctor ordered for Brooklyn. Durant then facing the fourth estate. He was peppered with questions. Durant, the face of the franchise, he said that despite all the things that happened for Brooklyn, he is proud. He's proud, he said, of the Nets.
Man, it's tough to lose. I mean, end of your season. I mean, we love doing what we do, so not being able to get up and go to the gym every day is going to be a shock for us the first few weeks, and then we're going to go enjoy our summer, keep getting better, and do this whole thing again. It's a cycle, for us. So, we had our expectations. Everybody had our expectations for us. A lot of stuff happened throughout the season that derailed us, but I'm proud of how we just kept fighting and kept, keeping the faith, and every day was trying to work towards something. You could take that away from the season.
Okay, so they were working. I think that's good. Has anyone let Durant know that there are gyms you can go to? You can actually go. You don't have to be an NBA player. You can go to a gym. You don't have to wait for that. Anyway, but wait, there's more. Here's Kevin Durant. He was asked if he has any regrets. The super team with Kyrie Irving and these other players that have passed through Brooklyn in recent years. So let's go to the audio tape. Kevin Durant, any second thoughts on all this?
No regrets.
None.
No crying over spilled milk. It's about how we can progress and get better from here. We see and we've been through, a lot this year. Everybody in the organization knows what we went through.
Oh, you're the only one that went through anything. Here's more from Kevin Durant here. He was asked about Steve Nash. Someone's going to walk the plank in Brooklyn. They're going to make some changes. The obvious change, the cliche, would be to get rid of the coach. Kevin Durant could snap his fingers, and Steve Nash will be out of that job. Here is Durant asked a loaded question, whether or not he supports his coach.
Just to be clear, do you think that Steve is still the right guy to lead this group?
I mean, come on, man. Steve has been dealt a crazy hand the last 2 years. He had to deal with so much stuff as a head coach, first-time coach, and trades, injuries, COVID, just a lot of stuff he had to deal with. I'm proud of how he just focused and his passion for us. We all continue to keep developing over the summer and see what happens.
All right, we'll see what happens. All right, so how much of the blame, let's get down to it. How much of the blame, that's the question. How much of the blame does Kevin Durant get as the Nets exit stage right? So, listen, this is all on Kevin Durant. Durant gets 100% of this. It's all on him. I've got Oscar Wilde I've also got Saddam and Plumber's Problems. So Oscar Wilde, Saddam, and Plumber's Problems. We'll put all those together, and we'll see what we get. Now, if you follow the trail of cookie crumbs, they all go back to the Slim Reaper. This entire situation, which has turned out to be a basketball debacle, is the work of the meddling Kevin Durant. From alpha to omega. You can't point the finger at anyone else. Now, I love goofing on Kyrie Irving, but he's Robin to Batman. You can't blame Robin when it's Batman that's responsible. Nobody else to blame. The Brooklyn brass, the ownership class, genuflected to the wants and needs of Kevin Durant. You know that. I know that. Every man, woman, and child knows that. This was a genie in Aladdin's special for Kevin Durant. Your wish is my command. He was the belle of the ball. Everyone and their uncle had the puppy dog eyes for KD. Hubba, hubba! Kevin Durant was the dreamboat. And the way it works in that business, you get whatever you want when you're in that position. And so far, the results have been verkakta, as my grandfather would say. And this is a case, as Oscar Wilde once wrote, the world was Kevin Durant's oyster, and he used the wrong fork. And that's pretty much what's gone on here. Durant thought he was painting a masterpiece, and he had all the paint out, all the brushes and all that, and instead it's been a finger painting. He just took his hand and just, like a kindergartner, rubbing their hand all over the piece of paper. Brooklyn has been a donkey, but they looked like a lion. So they're the donkey and lion skin. That's what the Nets are. Or a better analogy would be like when you were a kid and if you got one of those chocolate bunnies around Easter and you thought, man, I've just scored an amazing chocolate bunny. And then you realize it's actually hollow. And it's like, well, that's a buzzkill. Now, part B of this, is it fair to question Kevin Durant's roster-building skills? Yeah, I'm nodding my head yes on this. There's no other way to point out what has gone on in Brooklyn other than the incompetence of Kevin Durant. KD is a lousy judge of what it takes to build a winning roster. Durant could have teamed up with anyone. Again, I go back to my initial hot take. Every star wanted to be with Durant. Every team wanted Durant. He handpicked the Joker out of the day. He'd say, I would like the Joker. I don't want the ace. I want the Joker, Kyrie Irving. And Irving, who has lived up to his reputation, is a gigantic sourpuss, Kyrie Irving. And so when you look at Durant, so much for the Midas touch, because every move Durant has made has been the opposite of that. It's been worse than the last. Bouncing down a never-ending staircase. This is the Saddam touch, is what it is, which is the opposite of the Midas touch. He has ruined everything that he has touched, starting with the partnership with Kyrie Irving, then pulled the strings. He gave his blessing on James Harden to come over from Houston. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Who knew that the former teammates reunited? It feels so good. That would not be the case. James Harden was more interested in ballet dancers and cheeseburgers than hoops. And so then Durant flipped and said, okay, I'm going to say bye-bye to Harden. Get out of here. Let me get my Ben Simmons fix in. Well, Ben Simmons needs a shrink and meds more than a coach and a basketball in his hands. He can't even get his ass on the court. He can't even get on the bench. Biggest con man in NBA history. And Kevin Durant traded for him. Kevin Durant said, that's the guy I want. That's the guy. He's afraid to even play Ben Simmons. And that's Durant saying, that's the guy I want. And everyone said in Philadelphia, they said, don't stay away from this guy. Bad news. Durant said, no, I want this guy. You know what his contribution was to the Nets? Wearing funny outfits on the bench. Something he couldn't even do at the end of the series. All right, now the last word. What happens next? Does Kevin Durant really care? Is he really damaged that he has been an absolute failure calling the shots in Brooklyn? Players League, he's the star. And this is all him. Does he really care about turning things around? And it sure doesn't look like it. I'm a big body language guy, and I watched the news conference. We played some of the highlights of the news conference. Kevin Durant gave the vibe, the body language vibe of IDGAF. I don't give a, you know the rest. We're on terrestrial radio, so I can't say. Now, what's my evidence? All right, look at the body language. Go watch for yourself. It's on the internet. Looking down, the stroking of the chin, not directly facing the people asking the questions. He had the pouty lips. Always a dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. Pouty lips. And the words Durant said were robotic. It's like he had memorized all the great sports cliches, and he was just going through. Some of them weren't even sports cliches. No crying over spilled milk. He mentioned that one. But this was not someone who looked genuinely offended. This was not someone who was on the warpath saying, this will never happen again. I'm offended by this. This is terrible. Was he outraged? No. Was he embarrassed? It didn't seem like it. Was he maddened? Nah. Yeah, we'll go black. We'll go back in the gym. I'll be fine. Enjoy our summer. He was annoyed more that he had to answer the questions than at what the questions were because he's a failure. And that aggravated him. More than being a failure was the fact that he had to address the fact that he is a failure, Kevin Durant, in Brooklyn, getting swept by the Celtics. And the Nets right now have plumber's problems. And if my grandfather, may he rest in peace, was a plumber. And as they say in that business, crap runs downhill. And there's a whole lot of crapola running downhill in Brooklyn right now. Kyrie Irving has $37 million in a player option. And as much as the Nets probably wish he would leave, Irving's like, no, I don't think I'm going to go anywhere. That's what he said. He doesn't see himself playing anywhere else. Then you got the enigma, Ben Simmons. Holy cannoli, what do you do with this guy? How do you run a business? How do you run a business if an employee doesn't want to work? How do you do it? Seriously. In a functioning society, if you have an employee who's guaranteed, what is it, $114 million Ben Simmons has through 2025? I read that's how much he's got left on his contract. He doesn't appear to want to work. What do? You know, you feel bad for the guy, but hey, that's you're a thief. That's thievery is what that is. You're being paid to work. You agreed. You signed your name. You violated the contract. That's on you. That's not on the Nets. Well, it is. They traded for you a little bit. But Philadelphia signed you to the contract originally. But what a mess. But it's good talk radio. The positive is bad for Brooklyn, bad for Durant, terrible for Kyrie, great for gasbaggery. So it's not all bad news. I will be Benny Brightside to a point because we will be here to chronicle all the made-up trade speculation over the summertime of Kyrie Irving's going to be traded to the Lakers, a sign and trade, or Ben Simmons is going for LeBron James, or et cetera, et cetera. Because all that stuff's going to pop up, guaranteed. You know it. I'm calling my shot right now. You know that's going to happen.